Welcome to Fernbridge Farm. I'm Kelly, and we are a Shetland sheep farm in Western Vermont. And we're going into our fifth year of farming with the sheep. A little bit about my background. I have a degree in animal science from the University of Vermont, and my specialization was breeding horses. So up until about 6 years ago, I had horses. My last horse passed away at the very old age of 31. I had her since she was a teenager, or since I was a teenager. She was not a teenager; she was quite young. And then my barn sat empty for a brief period of time, and I've always had animals around. And at that time, I was a co-owner of a yarn store, and one of the things that was really important as a yarn store owner was to carry a lot of local yarns. So me and my business partners, worked with a lot of local farmers, and I knew a lot of shepherds. And so it was kind of a natural progression for me to move to sheep. I've been knitting since I was very little. My grandmother taught me when I was very young to knit and crochet both. And then I started spinning about 15 years ago. And I've been recently a fairly new weaver. I've been weaving for about 2 or 3 years now. So I kind of do a little bit of everything. But I definitely knit and spin the most out of all my fiber arts hobbies. So, so I really do enjoy that. I do some pattern writing. You'll see some of the kits that I'm going to show you are some patterns that I wrote that I've got available. And I am coming to you from the barn. So we have the babies are actually behind me here. So these little guys were all born this year. They were born in April and May of this year. So they're all Shetland sheep. They're registered Shetlands. And I often get asked why I chose to go with the Shetland breed. And there's a number of reasons. One, there's a lot of Shetland breeders in Vermont. So they're pretty easy to kind of get started with here. And they're a primitive breed. So in the 1,000+ years that they've been domesticated, the breeders really haven't done a lot to change or influence their characteristics, like a lot of the more commercial breeds have been. So they have retained a lot of their natural colors. There are 11 natural colors in the Shetland breed, and we have just about all of them on the farm. So, you can see it's not just when it's a field of sheep here on our farm, it's not just all white sheep dotting the field. There's a lot of different colors. So you can see this little guy who's down here in the front that
Oh my God.
if you guys don't mind just muting, that would be awesome. And if you have a question, feel free to come off mute, and then and I'm happy to answer those questions. Or you can type your questions in the chat too. And then I'll get back to those. So if I don't see them while I'm talking, because I may miss them, I'll happily type those down in the reply on the YouTube video. But this little guy right here, this is let's see, are you Jay or are you Jericho? This is Jay. So Jay and his brother Jericho look a lot alike. But Jay is much darker. There's a fading gene in Shetlands. And so his brother Jericho has the fading gene. So he's going to be a really pretty gray when he fades out. Jay at this point is not looking like he's fading, but sometimes it can take them a little bit longer to express that. And so he may end up fading, but it just may be a little bit later down the road. So these are the ewes and the wethers here. We already pulled the baby ram lambs out. The cutoff date for pulling out the ram lambs is usually around Labor Day. They start getting interested in the girls. So we breed our Shetlands for wool and also for breeding stock. So we'll sell animals, some of the sheep, to other farms who are interested in getting started with Shetlands. So that's what our goal here on the farm is really great fleeces. going back to the Shetlands being primitive, they are a smaller breed. And because I'm working with them primarily by myself, we've got a flock of about 60, which is going to be expanding. We actually just bought land. We're building. We're a little bit crazy right now, but we're going to be expanding the flock. So I work with these guys by myself most of the time. I get help from friends and family, my husband on occasion whenever we're doing something like vaccinations or any of the big chores that we do. So being a smaller breed is kind of nice because then they're a little bit easier to handle. The ewes don't usually get more than like 100 pounds is the maximum, and the rams 125, 150. So they still can be a handful if they don't want to be handled, but they're definitely easier to deal with than a 200 or 300-pound sheep. So this is little Kilda here in the front. So Kilda actually has that fading gene too, but she's also a little bit lighter. So she looks even more faded than Jericho, who may come by. This is little Windsor who's coming over. She's all white. And then Holland may come over too. She looks like a little Holstein. She's very spotty. Oh, her nose is just off the camera there. But they're very curious and they want to know what I'm doing, which is really fun with the sheep because they always want to know what you're doing. So the Shetlands are a fairly new breed in the U.S. They have only been in the U.S. since the 1980s. There was a farm in Canada that imported the first Shetlands into North America. It was about 30 ewes and 4 rams. So it was a very small gene pool that we were working with for a long time. We can no longer import live animals, and so we can import semen, frozen semen on rams, but it's a very long, intensive process. The rams that are collected have to be in quarantine for a year, and they have to go through genetic testing, blood testing to make sure that that everything is good before it's imported into the States. So we have some new genetics. There's been a number of importations that were done in the 90s, in the early 2000s, and then recently, I think it was just last year, 4 new rams where their genetics were imported. So even though we started with a very small gene pool, we're kind of working to get some new bloodlines in. And we're actually doing something kind of exciting on our farm. There is a bloodline, a ram line that is called the Brent line, and it is almost died out in the States. And so we actually are going to be working to reestablish that line. There's a few animals left, and so we're going to be breeding in the next few years to kind of help reestablish that line. With so few ram tail lines in the States, we really want to preserve the ones that we do have because it is very expensive to bring in new genetics into the U.S. So if we can save and preserve the ones that we do have, then we're gonna have those for the future. So that's a really exciting project that we've got going on, and it's perfect timing as we're moving to the new farm hopefully next year. It's good timing. So I did mention we are in Western Vermont. We're in a small town called North Ferrisburgh. It's about halfway between Burlington and Middlebury, if you're familiar with Vermont at all. I'm originally from Vermont. I have traced my ancestry back at least 7 generations here. So I'm a lifelong Vermonter and have very deep roots here. So this Vermont's definitely home for me. The Shetlands do very well here. Our climate is similar to some areas in Great Britain, and so I think they fit in very well here. And so I will show you some of the products that I make from their wool, or I have made. We do work with 3 local mills. one of the benefits to having owned a yarn store is I became really good friends with a number of mill owners. So I try to really spread the love. They each have their great strong suits. So I take advantage of that and get great yarns because of that. So I'll start with our worsted weight yarns first. That's kind of the yarn that we started with. It's such a versatile weight. You can make so many things out of it. So that was kind of where I started until I started building up my inventory, and then we went into some other weights as well. So without further ado, this first yarn is a heathered yarn. Aurora Spinneries did spin this yarn for me, so it might be a little bit hard to see, but it does have some pretty heathers in it. So I have named all of my yarns after ferns, since we're Fern Bridge Farm, so specific types of fern. So the worsted weight is Royal Fern worsted. So you'll find that there is a separate listing for the heather. So all of these yarns are on my website, which is fernbridgefarm.com. And before I forget, I am offering free shipping. I made myself a note because I knew I was going to forget something. And so to get free shipping, there's an area where you enter a discount code when you're checking out, and it's VKL ship. So I'll just show you my cheat sheet. That's what the free shipping code is. So please take advantage of that if you see anything you love. So this, I have two colors of this. This particular one is the Shayla color. So Shayla in Shetland sheep is a specific color in the breed. It is really pretty gray that has some white coming through. There's a modification gene, and if they have one copy of it, then they're going to be Shayla in color. And I've got quite a few Shayla sheep on the farm, and a lot of times you can pick them out because they have like a little thumbprint of white on their nose. And actually, there's I'll talk about Jalen too. So Jalen is a yearling, and she's in off to the side. She's a beautiful Morat color, but she's got that modification. She's got a little thumbprint of white on her nose, but she's the brown version of that. So she's going to be fawn. So when you see that little thumbprint on a brown sheep, they're going to be fawn. And that's exactly what color her mom is. And her mom's in there too. But I will get to Jalen in a little bit because she's pretty darn special, and we love Jalen. So this is the Shayla colorway, and we also have it in Morat. So Morat is this. So this is the heather and the Morat. The Morat color is another Shetland color, and it's a really lovely brown color. So Jalen actually looks Morat right now, but she's going to fade out to fawn. So these are the two heather colorways in the Royal Fern worsted. And then we have some other colors. They're not heathered, but they're more of a solid color. This is Royal Fern worsted, not heathered, but it is Morat. So this doesn't have the flex in it. This was spun, so the heathers were spun at Aurora Spinnery. This was spun at Junction Fiber Mill. I've known Peg for quite some time. We've had her yarn in this shop that I used to own with my co-owners for many, many years. Well, before she had the mill, when she just had her farm, which she still does, and she raises beautiful Cordale sheep. So this is the Morat color of the Royal Fern worsted, and then this is a light gray in the Royal Fern worsted. And I had this gorgeous Shetland black, but the dark colors always sell out first. They're just so lovely and so rich, but these are really lovely too. So you can see the difference in those two. Hopefully you can. It's a little bit hard with the camera. But right now I just have these in natural colors, but I do over dye them. And I'm going to be doing some more dyeing soon. So if there's particular colors you're looking for, I'm always happy to do custom orders. and these over dye beautifully. I generally over dye the lighter colors because you just get a little bit more color. But I am actually going to try over dyeing some of this the heathers too, because you'll get some really some nice richness from the different, the light tones and the dark tones in there. So I really do enjoy over dyeing some of those too. So we do some natural dyeing. I didn't have my dye garden going this year because of all the craziness of building houses and moving and everything. So I'm going to have a dye garden set up again next year. But we had an amazing batch of indigo last year. The weather was just perfect for indigo last year. It was very wet here. So we do some natural dyeing, usually more in the summer because it uses a lot of water, and it's just easier to do it when the weather's nice outside. But we also do use a low impact acid dyes. So they are heavy metal free. And so a lot of the dyed yarns I'm going to show you in just a bit, those are from those low impact acid dyes. So we do both. And I can do custom colors in either. So I'm always happy to do that. This next yarn will play well with any of the Royal Fern worsted. This one is actually not named for a fern. It's called Mothers and Daughters, and it's a little bit of lighter in color. Junction Fiber Mill also spun this. It's also just a slight bit lighter in weight too, not enough so that you couldn't use this with the other Royal Fern, but just so you're aware. So the Mothers and Daughters, this was actually, I took yarn from our Mothers and Daughters. So it was all of the yearlings and their moms, and it made just this, it's so incredibly soft. It's just a really, really lovely yarn. I was so thrilled with how this came out. So it looks like a really pretty creamy color. A lot of times the light gray sheep, their fleeces come out and it looks almost white or cream, but they're actually a light gray. So we blended our light gray, our cream, our white fleeces from our Mothers and Daughters, and we just got this yarn that I just adore. So that's it for the worsted weight yarns that we've got right now. And then this year we were fortunate to be able to do some fingering weight yarns. So we've got two different ones. We've got a 2-ply. It is actually very comparable to Jameson Smith or something like that. So if you like to do a lot of color work, it's a great yarn for that, and it is Shetland. So and that was one of my goals, and it was to have something that was comparable to that because I love doing color work, and so I've got a lot of really fun colors in that. So this one is named after Fern as well, and it's called Maidenhair Fern because it's so fine and lovely, and I've got a lot of not naturally, they're acid dyed yarns. You can see they're super vibrant in colors. So whoops, throwing them on the ground. So these are our 2-ply yarns, and I'll show you real quick too. I do have a hat kit available with this. It was a hat pattern that I designed, and it is true. It's a Fair Isle pattern, so you're only using 2 colors per row. And the pattern is called a Fair Kep. And I did 2 different colorways. And so I used traditional Fair Isle patterns. And you can see how much just changing out the colors can make such a difference in the overall pattern. So those are the 2 colorways that I have. This one is called Spice Market, and this one is called Patina. So I will show you the kit. They're here. And so they come with all the yarn that you need to make the hat. And depending on if you switch out the colors a little bit, you'll probably have enough to make 2 hats, and then probably still have some left over as well. So you can have, they're all caked up and ready to go. So it comes with the pattern and the yarn, and and the charts in the 2 different colorways too. So it was a fun pattern, even though it's in fingering weight. It was a fast knit because I love knitting color work because you're always like, I want to get to the next row. So for me anyway, it knits up fast, even though it's on fairly small needles. So we've got that kit. I also do have, I'll show you, a mitten kit. This is another pattern that I wrote. My goodness, you all right? Little coughing going on. Sometimes their water goes down the wrong way, just like us. So this is the X's and O's cabled mitten kit. Sorry for any crinkling that's going on there. And so I only have just a couple of these kits on the website, but I'm going to be adding more. So if you don't see a color you like right away, always feel free to message me. I'm happy to put different colors together. And it just takes one skein to do the mittens. So it's kind of a fun use of one skein. Makes great gifts too for knitter friends. And then finally, for yarn, I do have some roving and some bats too that I'll show you. And let me check the time. Oh, I can talk way too much about sheep. So I do have some 3-ply yarn as well. And so the 2-ply was done. My friend Liz at Kingdom Fleece and Fiber, she is getting her spinner set up for October. So she didn't have the capability to spin. She does all my roving for me. And then she also works with Bat and Kill right now and sends, after she does the roving part, they spin it and send it back. So they're the ones that they did that 2-ply. So that came out beautifully from them. But I'm so excited for Liz to get her spinner so she can do some other stuff too. So Liz is amazing and she's great to work with. So I really appreciate that. So 3-ply. So I do have a 3-ply. So if you do like making socks, it does not have nylon. All of these yarns are 100% Shetland wool. So if you want to have nylon, you'd have to add another strand. Lang yarns, they actually make a really nice nylon that you can knit along with your regular yarn. And you can knit holding it through for the whole sock, or you can just do like heels and toes or places where you wear through your socks more. A lot of yarn stores carry it. I know we did at so the yarn store I used to own, I sold my shares to my business partners because I loved farming so much. So I actually am farming full time now. But the yarn store was that I did own, it's still there. If you're in Vermont, it's called Must Love Yarn. So, and I do have some of my yarn there. So definitely visit them if you're in Vermont. And we do farm tours here on the farm too. I just did a farm tour yesterday. So if you're in Vermont too, come and visit us as well. There's information on our website about that. So I will put that information down below in the YouTube video once I put that up. So you will have full access to that. Or if you want to go back and rewatch anything, because I'm talking so fast, trying to get through everything, then you can go back and that information will be there too. So I'll try to put in all the links that I can. So the dyed, I have dyed almost all of the 3-ply up because it's really fun. It was all light colored. And so I find that a lot of people really like to have vibrant colors in some of the fingering weight yarns. So the 3-ply is called Walking Fern, which I thought was appropriate since it's more of like a sock yarn. You obviously don't have to use it for socks. You can use it for shawls, hats, sweaters, kind of whatever you want. But like I said, it is 100% Shetland. So if you do like to have nylon, you'll have to add that. And it's not superwash. It's just 100% non-superwash wool. So you'd have to hand wash your socks too, which a lot of people I think do anyway, even when they are superwash. So I have lots of colors. This is flamingo, and some of these I only have one skein left. I did a fall fiber festival just a couple weeks ago, and I sold a lot of these yarns. So some of them I only have one skein left, and others I have 2 or 3. So, but I'm always happy to dye up more. So if you see something you like and you need more than one skein, let me know. So this is Flamingo, really fun. And let's see, this is Rainbow. And this guy, what did I name you? This is Harvest Moon. And this is called So 80s. I really love this jewel tone. It came out so pretty, really intense color. This one is called Inky, because it looks like an a pen exploded on it. This one, whoops, try not to drop any more on the floor. This one is called Twilight Walk in the Woods, which we've got woods just behind our house, and it does. It looks kind of like that at twilight. It's so pretty, just subtle, dark, moody greens and blues and purples. So this one is called Cabbage Night, which Cabbage Night, I don't know if where you are, if you have Cabbage Night, the night before Halloween, people go out and do crazy things. This one is called Berry Picking. I really like that with the little pops of color in there. And this one is Old Penny. Very coppery with little bits of green. This is Marvelous. Really pretty. Mostly, it's kind of like a semi-solid yarn. This is called Atlantic. It's a really lovely blue, and again, a kettle dyed semi-solid. This is called Poppy. This color last year I couldn't keep in stock. It was so popular. It's showing up kind of orangey on there, and it does have a little bit of orange like a poppy does, but it's not quite that orangey. I don't know why. Even when I take pictures of it, it comes out that way. And then this one is called OD Green. So it's a really pretty kind of olive green. It's looking more emerald on screen, but it is definitely more of an olivey green. The pictures that I have online are pretty close I try to color match as best I can. Of course, people's screens are a little bit different. So I do have 2 colors of roving if you're a spinner, and I have some bats. So the roving's on my website. The bats, only one of them is on my website right now, but I will add those this afternoon. So if you're looking for them, keep an eye out. I will put those up. So the 2 colors of roving that I have are really pretty light gray. It's heathered, so it's got some darker colors in there. And then I have this really pretty dark charcoal as well, and it does have lighter flecks of light gray in there too. So they make really pretty heathered yarn when they're spun up. So I've got those, and then let me grab my bin full of bats. So these are the roving is 100% Shetland. The bats are 100% Shetland. I've got a drum carder, and I do the bats. I blend the colors myself. So this one is called Red Sky Morning. Really pretty light gray with pinks in there. So fluffy. Most of the bats are around 4 ounces. I aim for 4 ounces. Sometimes they're just a little under. Sometimes they're a little over. So that'll all be listed on the website, so you'll know exactly how much you're getting. So this is Aurora. So I don't know if you guys have gotten to see the Aurora Borealis recently, but it's been coming down, dipping low enough so that a lot of places in Vermont have been able to see them. So I thought that was very fitting. This one is Seafoam. It's got these really pretty greens in here. By the way, my husband named these. It was late one night and my brain was fried, and I'm like, okay, you got to name some of these colorways for me. So he named all of these. And then this is Luna Moth. So it's a really pretty gray, and then it's got these pops of greens and pinks and blues in there. So super squishy soft. so fun to spin with. Shetland, if you're not a spinner or you're a beginning spinner, Shetland's a great wool because it's got a medium staple length, and it's not too slippery. So it's a great fiber to spin with. And then this is called Total Eclipse. So we were in the path of totality here at the farm. So I thought that was very fitting that we had one that was called Total Eclipse. So that was quite the sight earlier this year in April. So my alarm is going off. I guess my time is up. I want to thank you all for joining me so much. And I'm going to be doing the market again, the online market in October and December, I think, as well. So, and I took the Saturday at 10 time slots again for both of those. So we'll have some different colors of the yarn. Hopefully I can show you a few more of the sheets. They've been very quiet back behind me. So thank you all for joining me, and I hope you have a wonderful Saturday. And that's all. Thank you. Bye.